Hey, this is Mark Henry back again to talk to you a little bit more about the occult and paranormal. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about something different, which is how to choose a metaphysical group. Because I know that there are a lot of solitary practitioners out there, and that it's fun and it has its place. Depending on your circumstances, you may live in a rural area and may not have a metaphysical group available to you, or maybe not one that you want to become a part of. So I just want to kind of give some tips and some pointers in choosing a metaphysical group, and maybe even some group dynamics and things to watch out for. So let's begin. Okay, so as far as metaphysical groups, what are, and by the way, with metaphysical groups, I'm talking about any type of group that is going to deal with the occult and the paranormal. So groups that fall into that categories would be magical orders, covens, even some meditation groups. Not specifically meditation groups that may be the kind that you go to for an hour once a week and then you go home. More extensive type of meditation training and organizations and group involvement. So the pros of these particular groups are that it's a social group, so you get to meet new people, make friendships. You get a chance to fellowship, a chance to learn a new subject, which is all really cool stuff. Now here are the cons, and because the biggest one that I come up with and I think about is that, because I've been a part of these groups before, and that is groups, especially when they're very enmeshed, when they're close, they spend a lot of time together, they tend to get into some, I guess, some family dynamics, and sometimes it's not necessarily a good thing. Especially when I think about, let's say a coven, you have a priest and a priestess, and here's the new people coming in, and sometimes it can actually bring up some interpersonal stuff, some family stuff. Here you have a male and a female, and it's just something to basically be aware of. If you feel that when you engage in these groups that you have these feelings come up, and yet you might actually have some people in leadership positions who may be capitalizing on that. Not all groups are healthy. Some are unhealthy, and some are very functional, and some are non-functional or dysfunctional. So that would be that. These groups, when they become, when people become very close, they can start fighting. It can seem like, a tense Thanksgiving dinner. So it's something to be aware of. Now, what would be some red flags? Let's say you want to join a group. What would you need to watch out for? Well, one, and the big one to me, is that if you run up against the leaders and organizers of these groups that seem to want to seduce members, seduce their body, seduce their wallet, take advantage. There are people who are attracted to these different positions because they just generally like taking advantage of people. And when you're talking about people who are attracted to these groups, some of them are going to be vulnerable. Maybe they are attracted to a magical order or a coven because they have financial problems, or they're seeking friends who have interests like they do. So they may have some vulnerabilities, and here you have a couple people who try to take advantage of that. So that would be the biggest red flag for me. Two is that a group without a focus. Okay, so you hear that there's this group where you can go in and you can learn about witchcraft or magic, and you go in there, and they're not doing much of anything. They sit around and they drink or talk and drink coffee, and nothing ever really gets done. There's no real focus. There's no direction. And that is about having poor leadership. Sometimes it's important to have a leader to kind of direct things rather than have just a collection of people who are kind of sitting around without any type of aim. The third one would be make sure that there are consistent and regular meetings and not random meetings. Again, this goes back to organization and direction. You know, if you belong to a group that meets, you know, maybe once every month or two, and it's not on a specific day, it's just whenever everybody can get together, then that group is going to be very wobbly. It's going to be very unbalanced, and I would suspect if I were to see a group like that, it wouldn't last very long. Alright, and that's basically it. I'm going to make this a short video. I'm actually kind of a shy person, so I'm trying to make my videos shorter. I tend to go on and on and on and babble. And I've been getting some feedback by people who seem to be irritated with me in my comments, saying, "Oh, yeah, go to 621. Thank you." What some of these people don't realize is that as a person who does YouTube videos, is that I cannot assume that everybody is at the same level as the person who wants that 2 minutes of information. I have to assume that there are different levels of people who are coming and watching, and some of those people have no knowledge. So if I give background information, I just ask that everybody be patient and tolerant if you happen to know that. There's no way on earth I could tailor a video specifically to a couple people. In any case, please subscribe and like, and check out my Patreon. If you want more advanced stuff, that's where you'd find it. You probably would not find too much of it on YouTube. So I will talk to you later, and have a good weekend.